Hey there, and welcome to the hashtag IBMI Everywhere podcast, a podcast to promote the IBMI platform. I'm your host. My name is Josh Bander, and I have the honor of being with Mark Smith from Georgia Crown, and really great to have you on here today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing you online for a long time. Really appreciate all you do for the platform. And you know what? I was looking at your history. It looks like you were on the mainframe for a bit, and now you are on the IBMI. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Josh. I worked for a major airline and worked in their mainframe engineering department, uh, which was a very large department, required many number of employees to keep everything straight. But the processing power was enormous. Of course, the transactions with an airline is enormous, and you need that processing power. But I ended up getting married, had a child, and my life had some life changes. And IBM come in and kind of restructured our airline. And anyway, I found myself going to work for an IBMI customer, and learned the IBMI. And coming from the mainframe, I was really impressed about how the IBMI could do so many things that we actually had a person in the mainframe world that actually did that. The IBM had it automatically inside the product and the DB2 maintenance and all that. We had a whole DB2 department in the mainframe world, and there's really, you can have like one administrator of the IBMI to keep the databases, indexed and up to date, reorganized, whatever. But yeah, there were many things I saw about the IBMI that you didn't have to deal with like you did in the mainframe. Well, we had a whole security department. Security is much easier on the IBMI. The managing of the DASD, we had a whole storage departments that managed the different DASD and connections to the mainframe. It's a one-man deal on the IBMI for most shops, I think, as far as the administration of the server.
Would you say that's because it's just you're at a much smaller shop? Would you think that if you would have an IBMI at that larger airline, you would be able to have a smaller team?
Yes, if there'd be a smaller team required. I mean, you wouldn't have the requirements that you would because every application that we had on the mainframe required specific expertise knowledge for the different applications. And the one thing about the mainframe, it can run a lot of different platforms, and IBMI can do that as well. But I think the IBMI is more of a mid-range solution versus a global enterprise solution. You can chain them together, and I know there's companies that do that. But yeah, I would think either way, you're going to have a smaller footprint of personnel running the IBMI, from what I can tell.
Sure. Would you say that you like the IBMI over, say, like a Windows server or other servers?
Well, yes. We had many server farms, and we still have some distributed applications, and just the cost alone for having multiple servers, people that know the operating system, people that know keep them updated. Then you have the database personnel that have to keep the database updated, and then the backups are forever. Yeah, an IBMI will outperform the server farm very easily versus a Windows server. So that the IBMI is a very useful business solution for a database, and for small or I'll say a mid-range business with business logic. There's with a distributed world, you have to have personnel that has to code that application on top of that SQL database or whatever database they have on the distributed side, and it requires more people. Whereas on the IBMI, you don't need that.
Like, why would you think that companies are not moving towards the IBMI? As all the things you're talking about, the smaller staff requirements and then not needing the server farms, why would you say that people are not moving towards the IBMI?
Well, I think mainly it's they don't know the capability of the IBMI. Typically, somebody that, they like to go with the things that they know. If a person's from a Windows environment, they're going to come in, they want to bring a new Windows server in if there's a need for new hardware, new application, processing power. So they want to go with the things they know. You're probably, you find somebody that's been on the IBMI, that's been in the distributed world, been in the mainframe world. I guarantee you, they're going to tell you, I need to go to the IBMI if it'll fit here. They choose IBMIs, use multiple of them, just to keep the personnel down and for the simplicity of it. And it's scalable, very scalable.
How do you save as you're looking for to the future IBMI, like, and perhaps promoting the platform, or like in your own shop, like helping you with your RPG programs? Like, how are you managing that and keeping the system running? As we were talking a little bit about, like the people are not as young as they used to be in this environment.
Well, we currently have that challenge now. Our staff is I'm probably one of the younger ones on our staff, which is I'm up there, but we're trying to find a solution to bringing new people in, and what we want to do is bring a young programmer in, somebody that took programming in college, and bring them in, teach them RPG, because a lot of the schools, universities are not teaching RPG, and it should be a valid curriculum in a lot of places. And I know that out in the Midwest, there's some of the major universities are actually teaching that, but getting somebody here in Georgia, from Missouri, that's it would take a lot of coercion, I'm sure, because people don't want to move away from their families and whatnot. But so what we're trying to do is find people that have the aptitude to learn, teach them RPG, and I think if they've been around any type of other environment, they're going to see the benefit pretty quickly, especially as it relates to business processing. Every business has got payroll, every business got invoices, every business, purchasing the inventory, whatever your business is, you're going to see a lot of the same business logic from business to business, and the IBMI does very well in managing that.
Have you taken a look at some of the things like with using like ChatGPT or other AI components to be able to make that transition into the RPG ILE world?
Well, it's interesting you said that. Now several of our programmers here, we do use Claude and ChatGPT. They basically do like code review and a reformat, if you will, just to kind of go make sure that we're not really doing anything that's out of line in our code. So it's more of a code checker at this point. They're in Claude. Just you got the concept of a project, and you kind of give it everything that you just associated with that project, and it can kind of learn from that and kind of help you develop that application. It helps you from steering off the direction. It'll help you stay focused on the goal.
Do you find there to be any security conflicts with using these tools? Like, you're concerned about if you share your code in ChatGPT or others, there's going to be the famous Samsung challenge where they put their code in and found out the rest of the world knew about their proprietary code. Are you concerned about any of that?
Well, for what I do, the logic that I'm actually writing and passing to the AI. If somebody wants to take that and make it work, I'm like, oh, let me, tell me what you did to make it work. Tell me, let's do this together. I mean, I think that's the whole beauty of it, is that, at some point there may be some enterprise level collaboration on getting that done, but I don't feel any security issue, because it would take somebody to be doing exactly what we're doing, trying to accomplish the same goal, and it would have to be specific for them to be just like it is us. And I think the chances of that is very, very minimal.
But do you find if a junior developer, let's say myself or others, who don't know as much about the security risk out there, would you let them loose using the ChatGPT functionality or other AI technology?
I'm not sure. Any of our code is not, when you say proprietary, it's proprietary to our organization, but I mean, it's not like it's a trade secret or anything.
Sure.
And so, I don't think the risk of leaking credit card numbers, or the risk of giving away our next month marketing plan, I don't think any of that's at risk here, because we're just looking at field names and files, and the data doesn't really present itself in the AI that I've seen at this point, for what I'm using it for. But yeah, I don't. There may be some security issues there. I'm not aware of.
Sure. So the other part of this conversation, I know you wanted to share a story about a time when your air conditioning went out. You mind sharing that story with us?
Certainly, I will. I'll be glad to share that story with you. Let me just preface it first with, like I said, I came from the mainframe world. When I first started the mainframes, you'd go into a computer room, and there would be these huge monster servers standing around in there, and then there would be all these hoses and radiators on the sides of the walls where they were water cooling the processors. And I'm like, water and electricity. This is not a good mix. And so it's all on a raised floor, but you got water running below it on the sides of the walls, going through radiators. All it takes is one little leak, and you're cooking your stuff. I just thought that was a lot of effort to keep the processors cool. When I got to the IBMI world, that was another thing I was shocked by, was the size of the box. It was a tenth of what the mainframes were at the time when I first saw one, and I was like, there's no water cooling on here. This is great. Well, so one day I had to swing into the office on the weekend. I forget what I had to come by here for, and anyway, I go to our computer room, which is basically like a 16 by 20 raised floor area. And we have probably 5 or 6 racks in there. Have basically our whole enterprise servers is there. And one of the racks was, we just have the IBMI stuff in. And anyway, I go in there, I walk by the window. We have a window, like a fishbowl, where you can look in there without going actually in the room because it's temperature controlled. So I go by and I start seeing all these flashing lights everywhere. And I'm like, what is going on? I even saw some lights, some of the machines that should have been on were not even on. So I opened the door, and it's like 150 degrees in there. We have one huge air conditioner in there to keep all that equipment cool, and it had died. And I don't know exactly how long it'd been, but it didn't take long for the temperature to come up, and I could barely walk in the room and breathe. I mean, it was crazy. But what I did notice when I walked in there, because me being an IBMer, I looked at my box. I'm like, well, this thing's still running, and this is pretty amazing. I think it may have been in a degraded state. It may have been starting to shut some stuff down, but it hadn't. Like, I looked over at one of our bricks on one of our sandboxes, and it was cooked. It was done. And then we had a bunch of internet boxes that were just toast. I mean, we lost a lot of equipment. We lost a lot of business time, but our IBMI, it had gotten that hot, and after we made the emergency preparations, get everything cooled back down and get everything back up, and after replacing several pieces of hardware to get our enterprise back up, we brought our IBMI back up, and it was a power rate at the time, and we ran that box probably for another year before we did the hardware upgrade. And I think that's testament to just how resilient and tough it is. I mean, most machines can't take that kind of heat for that long. I mean, it was a quality piece, and it proved its mettle.
Were you able to get all the data right back?
Yeah, we didn't lose any data off the IBMI.
Loss. And
the only data that was lost was the transactions that we were not able to do because our network interfaces were down, and we didn't. But as soon as we got that back up, it processed. So I mean, it's not. That right there would sell. I mean, that would sell any IT manager, I would think. Just for that one event alone, it made me proud to be associated with IBMI after seeing that. It was actually a trial by fire, if you will. So I mean, it wasn't flames, but it was very hot.
Close enough, though. I mean, that's awesome. That's a great story. Well, really appreciate your time, Mark. Thanks so much for joining us on the #IBMyEverywhere podcast. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.